Hey, it's Elizabeth. Welcome back to Crafty Liz CreeAtions. Today we'll be making a ribbon flower wreath on the Unique in the Creek small board. We'll be using this 8-inch sign. We'll be using these 2 ribbon, 2.5 Dreamcatcher and a 1.5 turquoise glitter ribbon. For this project, you will need 6-inch zip ties, 4-inch zip ties, and I'm using these pliers to close off the zip ties and these nippers to cut off the zip tie tails, and you will need scissors. The first thing I will show you is how to load up your Unique in the Creek small board. This small board is 12 inches in diameter. I'll be using rows 2 and 3. This is referred to as row 1, and this one is referred to as row 2, 3, and 4. And the middle 2 holes are what we use for when we make flower centers, and you just kind of can put your pipe cleaners in through there, or you'll add a cable mount in there to attach your sign with. But in this case, I will not be using those 2 holes. How I'm going to preload my board. These are 6-inch gray zip ties. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna skip row 1. I'm not using that. And I'm just gonna go ahead and add my zip ties on row 2. We're using every holes on row 2. So what you do when you add your zip tie in there is just you make sure your zip tie part, the flat side, there's a flat side and there's a bumpy side. The flat side you make sure is always facing up when you go into a hole, and up the next, and zip it up a few clicks and you leave it. That's how I'm gonna do this all the way around. So let me fast forward this part. So as you can see, all the holes are loaded up for row 2. See in the back, see all the zip ties in there. So now we're gonna do the same thing, and we're gonna add zip ties on row 3 all the way around the original holes and the serred holes. So you do the same thing, you go up one hole, up the middle, up the other, and do the same thing. And I'll continue adding the zip ties all the way around, and I'll be right back. Okay, so welcome back. So all of my zip ties are in now, as you can see in the back. I have 24 on row 2 and 16 on row 3. So next we'll be cutting up our ribbon. So we have the 2.5-inch Dreamcatcher ribbon and 1.5-inch turquoise glitter ribbon. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut, since there is 24 zip ties on here, I'm gonna be cutting 12 for this row, and since there's 16 here, I'll be cutting 8. So 12 and 8 is 20 pieces cut at 12 inches. So 20 pieces of this turquoise blue. How I'm gonna do this is how I'm gonna measure this. I'm gonna do a zigzag on it. So 12 inches is this white square here that you see, and I'm just gonna zigzag. to get a precise cut. I just like doing this. I have a measure buddy. I could just easily use that, but I'm extra when it comes to measuring, so I'll just continue zigzagging the ribbon. So 12 inches is what I'm cutting this at. Two, 4, 6, 7. So what I do when I do this is I put it in a little bin so it won't roll around on the table. So I'll cut these. So here I'm just gonna dovetail the ends. What that means is I'm gonna fold this in half and cut from the folded side up at a slant, creating a small triangle. Thus you created dovetails. So for that nice finishing look, so I'm gonna continue cutting this one side and I'll do the other side too. Let's cut this ribbon. Again, I'm going to put it in my little bin so it won't roll around. So 12 inches. Again, we'll need... Welcome back. So now we're going to cut our Dreamcatcher ribbon. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this at 8 inches. So 8 inches is here to here. I'm gonna cut these at 8. There's a method to my madness. So continue on zigzagging the ribbon at 8 inches. And because this is directional ribbon, what that means is all these are going this way. And if I put them this way, it won't look good. So this way. So okay. So I'm just making sure my ribbon is going on the right angle. For this ribbon, I am going to ducktail. What that means is I'm gonna cut this. I'm gonna cut from this wire and up towards here, this way. And this is called dovetail. So Okay, all my ribbon is cut up now, so let's add them into the board. Cut all out our ribbon. What I did is I cut these at 12 inches, and these ones I dovetailed this is 12 inches, the 1.5 is 12 inches, and this one I cut at 7 inches, and I ducktailed it, ducktail. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put this like that, grab my 4-inch. You can use a rubber band here if you want. I'm gonna lay this here, lining this up to here like that in the middle, and I'm just gonna pinch right there and add a zip tie about 1 inch up. Okay, close that up. Oops. Cut out that zip tie, and you have a ribbon bundle. Okay, let's show you that again. So grab my 12-inch cut 1.5 ribbon, make a crease, pinch it in the middle where you creased it, put it, lay it together, and I add this on top, lining it up, pinch it right there, and about 1 inch up, add your zip tie. And you have your ribbon bundle. So let me do that to all the ribbon, and I'll be right back for the next step. So welcome back. I've done all my ribbon bundles. I'm just gonna go in there and open these up every time I add them, so they'll be a little curvy. Okay, so I'm gonna add 1 ribbon bundle per zip tie. So I make sure my zip tie is inside this zip tie that I'm closing up. The reason I'm using my 4-inch for that part is because it'll stop. If somebody goes and pulls on your ribbon, it makes for a good stopper. So I'm almost thinking that we can skip this part. Yeah, so I'm gonna skip that zip tie and add the ribbon bundle on the next one. So make sure they're laying right, just like that. And I skip this zip tie and go on to the next one. Skip and go on to the next one. So let me continue adding these ribbon, and I'll take out the middle zip ties here because we don't need them. So every other is what I'm gonna be adding onto the second row. So a change of plans. I always seem to change my mind on stuff. Okay, look at how pretty this looks like. So remember, I changed a bit. I cut off the zip ties every other. I put the ribbon bundles on every other, and the zip ties in the beginning, I had a whole thing of zip ties on row 2, and I cut them off because because the ribbon bundles seem to cover up pretty well. And the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna add our 1.5 inch ribbon, just the 1.5 inch ribbon. We'll see where the top is. The top is up here. There's number 4 here, so this is the top. So I'm thinking I'm gonna be adding the 1.5 inch ribbon, pinch in the middle, right beside where the number, there's a number 3 written down here, and on this side here I'll be adding the ribbon on the smaller zip tie, just the 1.5 inch. Okay, so I'm just gonna skip this. So basically what I'm doing is I'm adding 1.5 inch ribbon in the original holes. You see where the smaller holes are close together? That's where I'm adding the 1.5 inch. I'll be adding one, just the one, not this way. Okay, see if that'll look good. Hopefully it'll cover nicely. If not, we're gonna have to go back and add this. What if maybe I change things around again? What if I go every other with just the 1.5 inch and every other this way? Let's do that. So we'll grab this. See, this is trial and error. Sometimes this is my first ribbon wreath that I'm making on this small Unique in the Creek board. I have done one on the large Unique in the Creek board, and this is like a trial and error sort of video here. This is how I create when I make things behind the scenes. I take things off. It's all right to do that. It's all right to change your mind when you're a wreath maker. You see what will look good to you, and then you take things off, you add things on. That's how I am with my designing. So this is not the first time I've changed my mind on design. So that looks good. So I'll continue going every other with this first. Okay, and then I'm actually, oh, hold on, I'll add this just so I'll feel better that it's secured properly. I'm keeping in mind that I'm only trying to use 2 rolls of ribbon here. That's why I keep changing my mind too. Sometimes when I want to come on and do a live, oh, wrong one. Let me change that. That wasn't supposed to go on there. Okay, here's another thing that I'm gonna show you. It's easy with these boards. It's easy to clip off the zip tie and add another one if you put your ribbon in the wrong hole in this case, and so it's okay. Okay, so that looks good. All right, so I'll continue with adding the 1.5 inch on every other first, and then I'll come back around and do the 1.5 inch and 2.5 inch together. Okay. So to skip that, basically I'm adding the ribbon on the original holes is what I see. The reason why I chose these colors for this sign here, is because I have had this ribbon for a while now, this Dreamcatcher ribbon, and I wanted to use it with this sign, this 8-inch sign with the wolves on it, and been ready to use that for a long time, so this is a good way to use it. And the ribbon, why I chose the turquoise blue is because there's turquoise in the ribbon. I thought about using pink, but I like blue, so I do have pink, but blue would look good. There's a lot of blue in the sign as well, so that's why I chose the ribbon, this colored ribbon. So we'll skip that zip tie and we'll add this one in there now. Here's all the 1.5 inch ribbon. Look how beautiful and shimmering this is. So now let's go back in the size that we skipped and add in our 1.5 inch ribbon and this 2.5 inch. All right, so let's continue adding our ribbon bundles into the zip ties that we skipped. Okay, so making sure my zip tie is inside this zip tie that I'm closing up. Give this a little bit of a lift so they'll look a little bit, you know, poofier and not flat. Okay, just like that. Continue on with this. The measurements and the serial numbers for the supplies that I'm using here today will be in the description box below. You don't always have to use this type of ribbon. You can always use your own design, your own ribbon, your own theme, your own season, occasion. This is just an idea that you might want to do. The last one in there. Okay, so let's cut off those. See how that looks? Look at that. I love this look. This is the perfect amount of this ribbon that I'm trying to showcase because I love it. So this is the top over here. So when we add our sign, I'm gonna be using, what colors would I use? White. So this is where this will go. So let's attach our sign. So I'm gonna make a couple of holes on the top and bottom using my opens probably here and on the other side. Okay, so I'm just going to use pipe cleaners. I use pipe cleaners for my sides because to me it's more sturdier than a cable mount or something else. So it's more stable when you add your sign. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna feed the pipe cleaner through here and here. I'll turn it around here and show you the back once I add the sign in there. That side is done. We'll do the other side now. So I thank you all for joining me today, for watching my video. I hope you'll come back to watch more videos, and I'll try to bring in more videos for you to watch and to get your ideas from, and to inspire you and all that. So again, like I said, I'm on Facebook. I go live every Sundays. Okay, so stick that back in the hole, and I'd love for you to join me. And here I'm gonna add a hanger. A hanger goes right here. I usually use these two right here are divided in. Those are the hangers, but I usually use these, so it doesn't. I guess it doesn't matter which holes you're gonna use as long as it's in the middle. There we go. So how it looks in the back. That's how it looks in the front. So you can go back in there and lift up your ribbon to sew off how fluffy they are, so they won't be too flat. Go back in there and fluff them up. So there it is. There's our project, our design for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you all soon. Right? Bye. Thank you for watching Crafty Liz CreeAtions. Bye.